It's Monday the 23rd of November 2020 and it's dawn here in Brisbane and it's already blazing hot. So I thought that dawn would be a great time to say hi, say good day, and just talk a little bit about the wacky theories I have about perfume. Quite a few people ask me questions about how I make perfume, what perfume is, the processes involved at arriving at a composition, a whole bunch of stuff, and I can't probably answer all of those questions in one video, but I just thought I'd start by saying hi and talking maybe a little bit about my philosophy about perfume. Since my early childhood, I've loved escaping into books and fantasies and other worlds, other realms, alternate realities, and for me perfume is a portal into that. It functions that way for a number of reasons, and I get the sense that it provides a kind of an invisible cloak, a disguise for the wearer, and it enables us to enter into a whole kind of relationship with a world that exists probably in our imaginations and maybe in reality. I can't say for sure whether fairies and goblins still exist, but I hope so. So perfume is, I guess, a kind of a wardrobe that enables us to become costumed in archetypes. We become imbued with the qualities of archetypes that we imagine when we pick up, any number of fragrances that contain that kind of a narrative, the seed of possibility of being the villain, of being the innocent, of being, the hero, the heroine, the angel, the demon. Perfume offers us all kinds of disguises, and really those disguises are for our own benefit, because not everybody in the lift or in the elevator or in the room that we're entering is going to pick up on the nuances of what that particular perfume means in terms of its glamour. And I use the word glamour to describe illusion or costume of the diva, from top to bottom, from head to toe. She's going to spend some time considering the right fragrance, that it will exude the kinds of messages that she finds congruence in, that will encompass her shoes, her choice of handbag, her hairstyle, her makeup, the gown, the costume, the jewelry, that they all come together and that they are underscored and framed by the right perfume. Same can be said for men, that that men have different reasons to spray on different perfumes. It may be that they want to project an image of corporate sophistication, that they're not going to wear some kind of brutish beast mode fragrance to a corporate meeting, which they might choose to wear if they're going to play squash with their friends, to a bar, to go on a date night. There will be a different application, a different kind of a costume, a fragrant costume to step into. As times have changed and we've become a much faster society, a much more cashed up society than perhaps our grandparents and their grandparents, our choices and our options have really expanded, exponentially, that there is so much choice and so many options and subtle differences in the way that we may choose to have a signature fragrance and all of its 27 flankers, just because on Tuesday afternoon it might seem like a great idea to wear the more lightweight version, or the noir version, to kind of provide that complexity, the sophistication of that. my choice to work with a natural palette was never about being afraid of synthetics or, you know, negatively affected by them or considering them to be toxic. It was nothing about that. It was simply that I found the complexity of naturals to offer so much more creative scope in the palette, and the minutiae of components within natural perfumes are still so difficult to pin down that when you compare a natural rose scent with a synthetic one, there are things that can't be identified yet still within the molecules of what makes up natural rose. So you get this kind of silky smooth, reliable, stable synthetic rose that behaves as you want it to, and with real rose it can go in all kinds of directions and get away from you and mushroom into you know, the boozy, the green, you know, the jammy, all of the descriptors that are used over and over again. But there are other words that I don't even know. It's a language unto itself. Smell is a language that can't really be conveyed or expressed in just in words. I think perfume is a whole tribal language of hormones, you know, that we can't really distill it down into saying that it's fecal or that it's indolic or that it's balsamic, floral. They're just kind of big headings written with big fat crayons that don't do justice to the subtlety and the sophistication and the complexity of natural fragrances. I never wanted to make perfumes that smells like aromatherapy. That's not perfume, that's aromatherapy. So it's taken me quite a long time to smash a lot of things together in bottles to, I suppose, begin to decode that language, to decrypt some of the syntax of natural fragrant ingredients, natural aromatics, to learn what are the most likely outcomes of combining certain ingredients, which things are going to amplify, you know, when combined, which things are going to synergize and which things are going to cancel each other out. I've made many perfumes with very expensive ingredients that have somehow mysteriously managed to create the barest whisper of a scent, and it's like some kind of a black hole opened up in the center of that fragrance and just took the fragrance away. It took it to somewhere else, somewhere that I can't smell. And other things somehow mysteriously seem to lock into each other like a meeting of things that somehow oscillate together at the same rate, and it creates a whole new sort of fragrant layer. It's no longer identifiable as the sum of parts. It's a new beast altogether. I call that the scentity. It's a new identity, a new scent identity. And for me, that's the holy grail. That's the best outcome when blending a perfume. Why do I make perfume differently to other perfumers? Well, I can't even really say that because I don't really know how other perfumers make perfume, but I do see a lot of lab coats and scales and beakers and, you know, people holding moyettes up to their nose and looking to all intents and purposes as scientifically grounded as possible. And that's just not for me. I don't feel scared to admit that now, because over the years of blending things, I've managed to figure out that my system or my method of making perfume is okay, because I've been able to replicate, you know, to rebatch things, you know, 3, 4, 5, 6 times and to have the same outcome. So it tells me that my nose is the boss, and writing notes and writing up formulas is a great idea, because it means I can hand on those recipes to other people. But for me, I work purely from instinct and let my nose make the decisions about how much bergamot's going into that blend, how much and when to stop. Learning when to stop is a very tricky thing, because some perfumes, pretty much all of my perfumes, continue to brew for years. So that what I've needed to learn is when to stop and trust that this summer heat and the humidity of where I live is actually the perfect oven in which to bake this brew, and that things that I make in springtime will be glorious by autumn, and even more glorious 2 years later. And learning about the long arc of those, especially with the oud maculates. What is apparent at the end of a blending phase is only really a hint of what's to come at the end of a summer. And our summer and humidity here seems to be the ideal environment for the maceration and the maturation to take place. There is a cooking that goes on. It's not a literal cooking, but it's just that those conditions seem to be ideal to quicken a brew. Once that brew has reached a maturity and a maceration, it goes into a cool space, either into a fridge or into a very cool dark room which has tiled floor and tiled walls, and it remains a fairly stable cool temperature all year round. So at the moment there's quite a few new things in the brewing stage, and will be ready next autumn. I've made a new batch of some things that have run out of stock, such as Blue Lotus and Embers, and a range of other things that I'll talk about later. The perfume making is a collaboration. It's a collaboration between the plant materials, the distillers, the growers and the distillers. Those things coming together depending on harvest conditions, depending on rainfall, depending on, you know, any number of mysterious components that end up being in my studio, and then it becomes a collaboration between my nose and those ingredients, and my nose has to listen to the stories that emerge from the bottles as I open those containers and spend time feeling, you know, what potential there is in those ingredients. For example, I buy a number of different rose absolutes and Otto, which is the distilled oil, from several different suppliers, and sometimes a batch will come that is just unlike anything I've ever smelled before. Sometimes it's not particularly lovely. Sometimes it's stark or harsh or bitter. And I've learned that those anomalies are actually fantastic tools to combine with things like nagamotha or ouds, because the leatheriness of an oud with labdanum with a bitter rose can create a gorgeous leathery, animalic kind of aspect to a fragrance that just can't happen with the kind of big blousy, florally, airy rose. It just doesn't happen. So I actually really welcome those harvests that have had not enough rain this year, or too much rain this year, or that they were picked in winter, or that things are not as they usually are. That those anomalies are they're great things for a perfumer's palette. And as well, there are often exceptional batches of things that come. Some Italian neroli that I bought last year was just so beautiful. It was the magic ingredient in Fatima's steam bath, as well as some really, really special jasmine sambac that I got. They just work together, and I've only made one big batch of that. I don't know how it will come together with less beautiful neroli or jasmine sambac, but we'll see. I wanted to express my heartfelt gratitude to quite a number of people that have really supported me and made a huge contribution to getting my brand of perfume out into the world. It's important to me to maintain a level of quality which comes with the generosity of good quality ingredients in my blends. I don't want to get to a point where I can't maintain that because the cost of buying such a big bulk amount of, Hindi oud or Taif rose or, ingredients is prohibitive. So, but I really would like to thank Christy from Oh My Soul, and Dan and Joe from Wafts from the Loft, Nikhil, Rob Blandford and Claire, Smurfy Girly, and many others that have been steadfast and fantastically supportive patrons of my art. Really, I'm very grateful to you, and thank you for enabling me to make some progress as an artist. It means everything to me. Thank you.